Did you know that in Kelton, right next to the CBD, there is a friendly and welcoming space where everyone can learn Italian, from kids to adults? And today, we want to take a deeper look, into what the Italian language classes for adults look like. And we're gonna chat with the people that make this happen. So stay tuned, listen to this episode, and maybe you will see that learning Italian is not that hard. Welcome back. I am Stefano Ioele and you are listening to Crossroads, the official podcast by CO.AS.IT, where we explore Italian-Australian stories, the culture and the community life. With weekly episodes, we will bring you the real voices and meaningful conversations to understand more how a vibrant community is evolving nowadays. So, let's dive in. Welcome again to Crossroads, and today we are talking from the classrooms of CO.AS.IT, and this is a very special opportunity for our English speakers and listeners to have an insight of what CO.AS.IT offers for them if they really are passionate about the Italian language, if they have an Italian family and they want to catch up with the contemporary Italian language. There couldn't be anyone else than Alexander Paese to explain us everything about this, which is the coordinator for the Italian language classes for adults at CO.AS.IT. And also we have one of the teachers, Gaia Lunardi.
Hello, Stefano. Hello to all the listeners.
Ciao, buongiorno, I'm Gaia and thank you for inviting me today.
Our pleasure, guys, and it's a very big pleasure for CO.AS.IT to have these classes because they are creating a lot of traction. There are a lot of people participating, but I have already one question for you, Alexander.
Tell me.
If you have someone that doesn't know anything about these classes and you want to introduce them and to make them understand how does that work, what would you say?
So the target is easily explained. Anyone who is interested in learning Italian. In terms of how the classes work, we run classes parallel to the normal school terms. So we have 4 terms per year, and roughly speaking, every term is 10 weeks. 10 weeks, which is 20 hours, because every class, which happens once a week, is for 2 hours. And now we run classes of different types. We run what we call progressive classes, which basically means that you start at beginner and then you progress through beginner, intermediate, upper intermediate, advanced. We have then revision classes, which we call consolidation classes, which basically are there if you feel that you need more revision or consolidation on whichever level you've attained. And then we have conversation classes, if that's where you want to focus. And then we have a more recent addition to our offerings, which are specialist classes, which change throughout the year. They are one-off classes. We started with Italian through drawing. We did a pronunciation workshop. Next year, we're looking at Italian for travelers, both in person and online.
Which I think is very important because many of our listeners are for sure willing to travel to Italy. I think that's one of the main motivation to learn Italian, but also as many Australians have also Italian partners.
Yes, they have. Many of my students in my class have like Italian husband or wife, so it's actually a very good idea for them to start to learn Italian to understand the partner culture, but also to be a little bit more included in like family situation. For example, when they do passata together or when they are together for Christmas. So I feel like it's a very good purpose.
Fantastic. And Alexander, the people that want to approach to these classes are not divided by the age, right?
Anyone who is 18 plus can access our classrooms and our courses. The idea is that you have the whole range, the whole spectrum of ages. You have young people who have just finished BC, who wish to continue their study of Italian, and they can do so with us. You have people who are are at the height of their careers, who have decided to take on an additional challenge. You have elderly people who have decided to again challenge themselves in learning a new language or continue their studies of languages. We have students who have been with us for upwards of 20 years. And this allows me to also breach another topic, which is the social and community aspect of our classes, meaning that this is not just a sterile environment in which you learn something, but this is where friendships are forged and meaningful relationships are entertained.
That's amazing. Like, as most of the programs in CO.AS.IT, the way they are built, the way they are designed, they're a little bit out of the box. It's not like, as you say, the sterile class. It's not a cold environment. Actually, here, many classes are just conversations, and or sometimes they go out, have a dinner together. Of course, in Italian restaurants with Italian waiters, so they can practice on the spot, which is very important if you want to travel to Italy, but also if you want to engage with Italians, if you have an Italian household. What I want to say is that you don't have to feel scared of participating. It's very relaxed environment, and we can also have an inside look about these classes with Gaia. So do you want to tell us a little bit what's your experience with these classes?
Of course. So, first of all, I want to say that, for example, I really like that in my classes there are different ages, because there are young people, young students that are very active in their learning, very involved. They always come with their homework, so they bring that structured part of my lesson. But on the other side, I have also people a little bit older that has the Italian experience, because often they have Italian background. They travel frequently to Italy because most of them are already retired, and so this balance allowed us to have a very beautiful environment in the class, because we often speak about our experiences. There is also a part about grammar learning, of course. We can share our background, our experiences, but also our connection with Italy, that even though can be different, is also a good way to feel us in the same situation, in the same context. And frequently at the end of our classes, we like to have a little bit of practice of what we learned during the term. So we would like to organize some games, like table games, at the end of the term. And that's a very good way to practice our Italian. One of the beautiful games that we play is Taboo. And but we fortunately have the Italian version here.
Oh, nice.
And so with the card and the synonyms that we have, we improve our vocabulary and we learn how to explain things in different way to other people. Sometimes some of my students also bring some food that they make with their family, like salame, capocollo.
Oh, nice.
And that's also beautiful to speak about that. Maintain traditions, stay together. And on the other side, sometimes we go out, as you say. And we really like to go in Italian restaurant to challenge ourselves and try to order in Italian. Have a little bit of conversation with the waiters, and so it's very enjoyable, really.
Fantastic.
Even for me.
Oh, I can tell. She's smiling like she's right in the class having fun. Like, I'm sure these classes are much fun for you too. And as you said, playing games is very important to learn language.
It
and
is.
It reminds me a little bit of something. I learned a little bit the Australian slang because of the card game Cards Against Humanity. I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
Very popular game, not very not safe for work game, but it's you learn a lot of things about the Australian slang, and playing games, going to a restaurant, sometimes watching movie clips or listening to Italian music.
Yes.
It can help you a lot. But of course, to plan all these things, I'm pretty sure that Alexander is doing a huge job behind it. He's coordinating many classes. How many classes do you have at the moment?
They change from one term to the other, but roughly speaking, we're always looking at about between 18 and 22 classes per term.
And so every class has a lot of people as well. So this is a huge work of coordination. How many teachers?
So again, it depends. Right now, we run on a roster of about 10 teachers. That's what we're looking at, and the number of students per class that also ranges quite a bit. The earlier classes, like the more beginner classes, those tend to be the larger classes, but we never go above 15 in any case. Whereas the more specialist classes, the higher level classes, those run around between 8 and 10.
Before we dive into some false friend stories, remember, like, these classes are not only friendly and very fun to attend, but also they can be very important for your future because, as we Italians come here, we always have to we usually have to prove our English skills through IELTS certificates, and at the same time, if you want to prove and have a certificate about your Italian language skills, that's what you can find also here in the Italian classes for adults, right, Alexander?
That is correct. CO.AS.IT is an accredited center for the CELI exam, which is run in conjunction with the University for Foreigners of Perugia, Università per Stranieri di Perugia. Through this exam, which is run 3 times a year, you can obtain various levels of the CELI certificate. And you can do so for your own personal purposes. If you want an internationally recognized certificate showing which level of Italian you have attained, but you must have a CELI certificate if you want to attend university in Italy, at which point you need a CELI 3 exam or CELI 3 certificate. And also, if you want to, for migration purposes into Italy or citizenship purposes into Italy, you need to have a CELI 2 or a B1 level as well. What happens is, based on the calendar of exams as provided by the University for Foreigners of Perugia, you would come here, spend, depending, between 4 and 6 hours with us, sitting your exam. And then after a couple of months, you would get your results and we would let you know how the exam went. We've been seeing a rise in numbers and interest in the exam over the past 2 or 3 years, and we now have groups of up to 6-7 candidates sit these exams for every session.
Our listeners, many of our listeners usually are people that have an Italian family and they would love to have the Italian citizenship. And this should be a very important thing for you. Remember, going in Italy means also speaking a language, and the language carries culture. Well, that's another motivation to go back to your roots. And be careful of the false friends. But before we go to there, you have to also know that we have a teacher that stays 6 months here in Australia and 6 months there in Italy, right, Alexander?
That's correct. That is one of our most acclaimed and requested teachers, Giuliano, and he helps us run our online program. We have a small selection of online classes which Giuliano runs. He runs part of them here at the CO.AS.IT headquarters, but he also runs his Italian classes directly from Italy. So when you do sign up for Giuliano's online classes, for 6 months of the year, you know that you're interacting directly with him in Italy.
And I remember also that I have one student coming on Saturday morning as a parent, because we have also classes for parents. On Saturday morning here at the CO.AS.IT we have classes for children, young children and teenagers, but we opened last year also the classes for the parents. Of course, it's important for them to be able to have the children. And for example, one of the parents that just come on Saturday morning, she was very interested in the evening class as well. And you know, even sometimes coming from different part of Melbourne, it's difficult to come in the evening, and the online classes are a very big opportunity, even for people that are here in Melbourne, but cannot come on evening class for work reason or like long distance
That's
reason.
true. What happened was we introduced online classes during COVID, and we saw that there was value in maintaining the online classes. During COVID, we managed to start classes with interstate students, and they never left. They wanted to continue. Sitting our courses, and so we kept those online courses for them basically. But then they started attracting also other students who may not have wanted to brave the parking situation in Carlton in the evening, and so are happy to do the online classes.
So in a moment that was so problematic, you found an opportunity.
Correct.
Yeah,
And these online classes became very important.
Yes.
And so look, for our listeners, you have no excuses. There is a way for everyone. So you are at home, you cannot move, you have a kid, you have some problems, you can do it online. Just do it. We still have a lot of false friends, right? So do you guys have a story about false friends? Because I'm pretty sure that it's always something that comes here and there sometimes, right?
So one of the most common ones that we hear, not only from our own students but also from language assistants, our language assistants that come every year from Italy, they very quickly they very quickly acquire a special kind of Italian. And one of the most frequent ones is the verb applicare.
Oh yes.
Which mean in English it makes sense to apply for something, to apply for a certificate, to apply for a form. And in Italian the correct way to say this is far domanda per.
Sì.
But because it's 3 words instead of 1, then for economic reasons we tend to say applico per or applico a.
As an Italian, sometimes I say applico per questo lavoro.
Sì, exactly.
So it's a false friend that goes both ways. Same thing a little bit with the interview, like working interview, which is like a colloquio.
Colloquio di lavoro, but here we call intervista, which is incorrect in proper Italian.
This is fantastic. And guys, if anyone wants to wants to know more about these classes, how can they get in touch?
The easiest way is to go onto our website, co.AS.IT.com.au. There's a menu bar at the top, and you basically just have to navigate to the Italian language classes for adults. And you have all the information there in terms of what is available for any given term, when classes happen, and the cost of the classes. If you need any additional information, you have my contact on the website. Otherwise, it is alexander@co.AS.IT.com.au. And otherwise, you can even give me a call. It's 9349-9070.
Other than false friends, also we have a little story in this micro universe that is Australia, where all these families that moved here during the 50s and the 60s, they created their own version of not only the Italian, they come from their dialects, but also the English. So all the second and third generations, they carried the dialect from people from Calabria, people from Sicily, Abruzzo, Veneto. So they actually won kind of, not fix, but maybe transform their own version of Italian to the standard Italian, right?
Yes, for example, there are a lot of my students from different ages that have an Italian background, and of course they have nonna and nonno teaching them their dialect. But then, we have different people. We have people from different part of Italy coming here in Australia, and particularly in Melbourne. And so they slowly figure out that what they were learning is dialect. And I have some funny example about how they adapt dialect and English even together. For example, we were speaking about like the house and the tasks that you have to do in the house, and came to me a student saying, I throw out my rabiscia. And I say, that's a very beautiful example of how they combine Italian dialect and English. And I say, it's even something that the new generation is starting to do in Italy with English. Like gostare is a very good example about that. It's an English verb adapt to Italian. And so coming from this common and adapt word that we try to create when we are immigrant, we slowly increase our vocabulary and we speak about our story. That's a very beautiful thing that I learned even from my students.
That's fantastic. And so, it looks like it's very important so these classes can be a good meeting point too, where people can catch up and also finally find the standard Italian that they wanted always to have, but they couldn't. And it's very interesting to see that every different region brought their own version of Italy, which actually, as you said, it happens in Italy as well. It still happens nowadays. Some dialects are very hard to understand from other regions. It's very hard from northern Italians not really understand the Sicilian, for example, and vice versa. And this is a perfect example about the regions that Gaia used for her classes, right?
Yes, because Alexander gave us, the teacher, the opportunity to create our own programs of lesson. And so few times ago, a lot of my students in the class were looking for holidays in Italy. And so we decided together to go through the study of the region of Italy, because, we all know the main city, Milan, Rome, Florence, Firenze, but then in Italy, everywhere you look around, there is an amazing city to visit. And so going through all the region, all the small town even, we first of all discover where actually all nonna and nonno come from, but also we discovered new places to visit, and that was very, very beautiful. I even discovered a few places that I want to visit when I go back for holiday, and I feel like our students really enjoy it because they even have been in Italy and then send me photos about that places.
Amazing. So it feels like all the teachers in every class, they bring also their personality and they learn something, because I think you are learning a lot from them as well. But it's very nice that you bring also your own teaching style.
Yes.
That's something that Alexander believes is very positive for the program, right?
I think that it's what makes us unique in the horizon of Italian schools, where every class has its own personality, which is the collection of each individual's personality guided by the teacher. Classes are very different, even though you're all learning Italian, but the spirit of the classroom is different one from the other, which is also a reason why during the first week of term you can come in and try any class that you like. I like the expression that I use is, you're never signing your soul to the devil with us. You come in,
Only to pizza and pasta.
exactly. Exactly. So you come in, you try the class, and for that first week you can try all the classes that you like until you find your perfect fit. And we have yet to find someone who doesn't find what they're looking for with our classes.
Fantastic. It's been a huge pleasure for Crossroads to have you here, guys. Thank you, Alexandra and Gaia.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
It was a very enlightening episode, having a chat with Alexandra and Gaia. It felt like they really run a very friendly space and welcoming space for anyone who wants to learn Italian and approach the Italian culture from beginners to advanced level students. All the contacts and links will be in the description of this episode. And I want to thank now our listeners to have spent their time with us, listening to us and to all our stories. And as always, this is Stefano Ioele. See you next week for another episode of Crossroads.